Imagine just for a moment that the invisible force binding us to the Earth, gravity, suddenly vanished for 10 seconds. For most of us, gravity is a constant companion, so ingrained in our daily experience that we rarely give it a second thought. But if gravity were to switch off, even for the briefest span of time, the world as we know it would be plunged into chaos, and the consequences would be both fascinating and terrifying. The very instant gravity ceases, everything on Earth not firmly attached to the planet would begin to float. That includes people, cars, animals, water in lakes and oceans, loose soil, and even the air itself. At first, it might feel like an odd sense of weightlessness, like astronauts experience in orbit. People standing or sitting would find themselves gently rising from the ground, their bodies lifting into the air. Those walking or running would be launched upward with the force of their last step, continuing in motion until gravity's return. Vehicles traveling at high speeds would see their occupants and contents suddenly floating, while the vehicles themselves, if not anchored by their own weight, might lift off as well. Airplanes in flight would lose the downward pull that keeps them aloft in a controlled way, sending them and everything inside into a chaotic, uncontrolled trajectory. Birds mid-flight would find themselves drifting upward, unable to control their movement. The situation on the oceans and other bodies of water would be even more dramatic. Water, no longer pulled toward the center of the Earth, would begin to rise and disperse. Waves and tides would suddenly lose their shape, and vast clouds of water droplets and mist would form as the surface tension breaks. Boats and ships would ascend with the water, while objects floating on the surface would be carried upward, mingling with the chaos. Inside buildings, everything not bolted down, furniture, books, electronics, would begin to drift away from the floor. People would float off their chairs, bumping into ceilings. In tall skyscrapers, those near the top would have a particularly disorienting experience as the sensation of up and down disappears. Elevators and their passengers would float free of their shafts, suspended in midair. Even the air we breathe relies on gravity to keep it hugging the planet. Without gravity, some of the atmosphere would start to drift off into space, though in just 10 seconds the change would be minimal. Still, people might notice a strange sensation as the pressure around them shifts, even if only slightly. But the most dramatic changes would occur for objects in motion. Trains, cars, bicycles, anything moving horizontally, would continue in a straight line, no longer curving along the Earth's surface. The tiniest bump or movement would push objects and people in unpredictable directions. Athletes in the middle of a sprint or jump would soar far higher and farther than ever before, unable to control their landing. After 10 seconds, gravity would snap back into place, suddenly and with ruthless efficiency. Everything that had been suspended or drifting would plummet back to Earth. The results would be catastrophic. People, animals, and objects would crash to the ground from whatever heights they had reached, causing widespread injury and destruction. Vehicles would slam back onto roads, water would come crashing down, and the landscape would be littered with debris. The oceans and lakes would settle back into their basins, but not before massive waves and flooding were triggered by the sudden return. Airplanes, now out of position and control, would face disaster. The chaos would echo through every aspect of life, leaving a world forever changed by just 10 seconds without gravity. This thought experiment reminds us just how vital gravity is to every moment of our existence. It's the quiet, persistent force that holds our world together, literally. Without it, even for a few heartbeats, life on Earth would be unrecognizable.